Hi everybody! Today I have another tutorial for you and I'm going to show you how you can make these cute, fun envelopes that have see-through windows. So I have 4 of them that I've decorated using only 2 sheets of 12 by 12 paper. I'm going to go through them first and then I'll take you through the tutorial. So we're going to start with the larger one. So this I've already loaded with stickers. For me, I decided to make these envelopes so that I can store some of my crafting supplies easier in my craft room. So I have a closure on the back. I'm going to take all of the stickers out so you can see the actual envelope. And so you'll see it's got an acetate window, it's got some cut aparts from the collection, very basic, white on the inside. You could put design paper on the back side too, but for me, I just wanted it to be plain so that I could see what was inside of it. So this is the first envelope. It's an 11-inch envelope by 5 inches, so it's nice and big. So it holds some of the larger stickers that I have. So it was a perfect size and has a lot of room that I can store these stickers in, and there's more room to put even more stickers. So this is the first design. Closes like that. And then this, I can write on it what type of stickers are in here. I can just leave it plain. The next two are these ones here, and these are built in 2 separate ways. So I'm going to take the stuff out of this one. These are just the cut aparts I had left over from the paper collection. And again, there is the window on the front, and then on the back it's just blank with the flap. There's no closure on this one. You could put a magnet, you could put Velcro, you could put another one of those ties. I just left it like this because I plan on using this to tuck in little pieces while I'm crafting so that I don't lose them. So it's very plain. You could decorate it if you want to, but I plan on stacking a lot of these together, and the more embellishments that are on them, the bulkier they get. And then the ephemera just slides right back in, and it's all stored in one place. This one is designed the opposite way. So the back part of the envelope has the decorative paper. Again, you could embellish it if you want. And then the window here, I put a cut apart and just some gems, and then I added a Velcro closure on this one. And this one, I put a piece of gold design paper on the back of it. This one also has a pocket. I'm going to take this out so you can see. It's the same here, but the liner has a pocket where there are 2 actual places that you can place the items that you place in the envelope. So there's a separation there. And then the tiny little one was used making the scraps from the larger envelope. I just thought it was really cute. So I used a die cut here, a little bow with a gem, another one of these twine closures, and on this one, I just tucked a couple of tags that I used leftover paper. Again, you can see just the back is plain. So it's a really cute way to make some envelopes. You can add these into mini albums. This size here, you could actually put a gift card in. It's the perfect size for a gift card. You could put these in a mini album. You could just give these to people at holidays or birthdays. It's just a really cute, fun way that you can make some envelopes. So I've got the 4 different ones here, and today in the tutorial I'm going to show you how to make the larger envelope and then the smaller envelope, and then you can make a smaller one like this if you want to, using any of your scraps. For this project, you will need 2 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock. You can use decorative cardstock or plain cardstock. I'm going to be using this paper collection here. It is from Michaels, and it's the same paper that I used for the ones that I just showed you that I've already made. So I have already selected my papers that I'm going to use, and I have the 2 pieces laid out here. And I also have some plastic. So I have all this leftover plastic from a customized book that I use. So these were 12 by 12 pages like you get for a scrapbook. I cut them down and I had all these scraps left over. So I'm using this for my windows. You can buy sheets of acetate. You can use the packaging that you use for stickers. You can basically use anything that you have, but I have these page protectors that I've cut down to size. So I have 2 of the smaller ones and 1 of the larger ones. So when we go through each design, I'll tell you the measurements for these. So we're going to start with the larger envelope first. So we're going to only need 1 piece of design paper. We're going to need 1 piece of plastic, and I have my plastic cut to just a little tiny bit below 11 inches. It's about 10 7/8, and then it's just below 5 inches. So I have that, and then we're also going to use a piece of twine to close. So I have 2 pieces, but we're only going to use 1, and then we are going to need brads. So I have some brads that match the paper, so I'm going to use these. If you don't want to make a closure or you don't want to use brads, you can use Velcro, or you don't have to put the closure in. When we make the closure, we're going to need to have some circles. So I just used my 1-inch circle punch and punched some of the gold out. We'll also be punching out some heavier cardstock to go underneath of these because this is pretty thin paper. And then you'll need some double-sided tape. I have a couple of things that I'll be using here. So I have 1/4-inch double-sided tape, and then I have one of these that I'll be using as well. And then I also use glue to glue some of the flaps on the envelope. You'll need a score board and a score tool, paper trimmer and cutter and scissors, a ruler, bone folder, and a pencil. So let's get started. To start the large envelope, we need to take our 12 by 12 sheet of paper, and we are going to score this at 5 inches and at 10 inches. Then we're going to rotate 90 degrees, and we are going to score each of the sides at 1/2 inch. Next, we're going to fold on all of the score lines. The next thing we're going to do is cut out some of the paper on these flaps that we will not need. So we're going to start, you can use scissors or you can use your paper trimmer for this. We're going to start, this is going to be, so if this is the envelope and this is the flap, we're going to cut the sides off of the flap first. So I just cut down the score line, and then I'm going to slightly come in on this one so that whenever we fold it, it doesn't have a lot of paper in the fold. So the next thing we're going to do is cut off these flaps here. And now we have our basic envelope shape. So we want to make sure that the edge of the paper does not hang over at all. So if it does, you want to just slightly trim this. And then I like to have my envelope flap slightly notched in. You could also round the corners with a corner rounder if you wanted to do that. But I'm going to cut mine. And how I'm going to do this, I'm going to take a pencil and a ruler, and I'm just going to mark this in at 1/4 inch on each side. And then I'm going to take my paper trimmer, and I'm going to line up the corner of this flap to this line, this mark I just made. To cut that off. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So now my envelope, the flap is slightly indented. The next thing we're going to do is cut out the window. So you can either measure this and cut out a square like I did on my large envelope that I showed you at the beginning of the video, or you can use die cuts. For this envelope, I am going to use some die cuts. So I have the dies I'm going to use. So I'm going to put my window on this back piece here. So to do this, I'm actually going to line it up first so that I know where the center is. Position this so that it is in the center. And I'm going to use some washi tape to hold this down so that I can cut it. And then I'm also going to put two smaller ones on each side. So I'm going to place one here, and then I'll do one on this side too. Now when I go to cut this, I'll need to have my envelope cut this piece. So I'm going to put this on the plate, and I'm going to flip this way so it'll fit through and not cut through my paper. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back with the cutouts for my windows, and you see that they are all through here, so you can see into the pocket, but there's a little bit more of the design paper compared to the larger cutout that I did on the other envelope. So what I'm going to do next is open the envelope up, and I'm going to take my piece of plastic, and I'm going to first just make sure that it will fit on here, and if it doesn't, if it's a little too big, I'm going to trim it. So I'm going to trim mine just a little bit because I don't actually need it to be all the way to the ends. So I'm going to trim it just a little bit so that it fits on there. So now that my paper and my plastic are cut to size, I'm going to go ahead and adhere it down. So what I am going to use for this step is one of these, but you can also use double-sided tape. I've learned that with these different cutouts, it's a little bit easier. I can get a little bit closer to it because I don't want it to come off. So I'm going to use this, and this actually has a star pattern, so you'll be able to see where I'm putting it. So I have it outlined on all the shapes so that the plastic will stick to that, and then I'm just going to put some glue along the edges here. Then we're going to take the plastic and we are going to place this down, being very careful so that it does not go over these score lines. see the window is in place. The next thing that we're going to do is add a closure. So I am going to do the closure like I did with the previous ones, and I'm going to do the circle closure. Okay, so we're going to use 2 cardstock and 1 gold for each of the closures, and we are going to use brads and a piece of twine. So the first thing that we're going to do is find the center of each of the gold circles, and we're going to poke a hole in them for the brad. Open the prongs slightly. I have a knot in the end of my twine, so I'm going to place the twine between the brad prongs, and then I'm going to fold them both over to one side so that now the twine is caught with the knot, it won't move. And then I'm going to take my glue in one of my cardstock circles and I'm going to glue this to the back to cover that knot. Once you have the first one made, you can put it on the envelope. So this one is going to go on the flap. So we want to, again, make sure that it is centered on the flap. And you can place it anywhere you want, if you want in the middle or down towards the bottom. I'm going to place mine in the middle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use glue. I'm going to put glue all along the entire back of this circle. And then I'm going to position this with the string down at the bottom. For the next one, we are going to use the other gold circle and the brad and the last 3 of the cardstock circles. So we're going to first take one of them and we are going to glue it to the back of the gold circle. Then we're going to make sure to punch the hole through both layers and insert the brad. Next, we're going to take the other 2 circles and glue them together. Poke a hole through those 2 circles. And putting the 2 cardstock circles on the bottom. We're not going to glue these together, but we're going to put the brad through all the layers and open up the prongs on the back. What this does is it has 2 layers where the string is going to be threaded through. So we want to make sure that these are loose enough that we can tuck that string through it, but not so loose that they're flopping all over the place. Then we're going to put glue on the back. And glue it onto the envelope. You can glue it up here to make a tighter closure. You can glue it down here to make a longer closure. now you should be able to take the string and loop it through, and it should hold the envelope securely. If you want, you can make this same type of button at the top where there are multiple layers, and then you can loop the string through both of them. Once you are done, you're going to trim off the excess and then tie a knot at the end of the string so that the string doesn't fray. The last step is to glue the sides of the envelope and the actual body of the envelope. So we're going to use glue for this step. And now we have a finished envelope. At this stage, you can embellish it with different things, ribbon, bows, stickers, gems, or you can just leave it plain, depending on what you want to use it for. Now we are going to make one of the smaller envelopes. For this paper I've chosen, it is directional, so you see that there are faces on the print, and so we want to make sure that we design the envelope with that in mind. So I'm going to do this envelope slightly differently from how I did the other envelope, because I'm going to place the envelope so that the pocket and the flap open to the side rather than on the top. So whenever I do this, I am going to cut my paper horizontally at 6 inches and set one piece to the side. First, we are going to score the long edge on each side at 1/2 inch. On the 12-inch side, we need to decide which side we want to have our flap open, whether we want it on the left or the right. I'm going to put mine on the right, so I am going to score at 5 inches and just slightly over 10 inches. So now I have my envelope and I have my flap. The next step is to cut out the portions of it that we are not going to use. So we're not going to use the 2 pieces on the flaps. And we're going to cut out each of these flaps up to the score line here. So now we have the base of our envelope with the flap to the right. Once again, I'm going to slightly slant the sides of the envelope. Next, I'm going to create a window in this side here. So again, I'm going to be using one of my die cuts, and I'm going to use the same one that I used on the last envelope. Taping it down, and then I'm going to cut this, and I'll be right back. And here is my cutout. Whenever I took the washi tape off, it accidentally ripped up a little bit of the paper, so I will likely be embellishing this to cover that. So now we have the envelope with the windows. And we're going to go ahead and add the piece of plastic to the window. So for this envelope size, we are going to need a piece of plastic that is 5 inches square, or just slightly under 5 inches. So I have mine cut at 5 inches, and I'm going to trim a little bit off just so that I don't get any in the score lines whenever I fold it. And now it should fit perfectly, and you won't have to worry about it being in the creases. So we are going to take our double-sided tape again, and we are going to run it all along the window. And then we're gonna lay down the plastic so that it covers the opening but doesn't go into the score lines. And now we have our acetate window. The next step is to put on the closures. So for this one, I'm going to do the button closure again. So I've got, this time, I'm going to show you how to make the closure that loops around both of them. So I have, for each of them, I've got 4 pieces of regular cardstock and 1 of my decorative metallic ones. So I'm going to first mark the center of each of the metallic circles so that I know where to place my brad. And then I'm going to poke a hole. Next, I'm going to glue these 2 circles together. And then I'm going to glue my gold circle on the top. Then we're going to take the other 2 cardstock circles and glue them together. Take the first set and punch the hole through all 3 of the layers. And then line it up on the other 2 and punch a hole through those layers. Take the brad, place it through the metallic circles first. Remember, we're not going to glue these sets together, but we're going to place the brad through those and open the prongs. Separate the 2 layers just slightly so it's a little easier to put the twine through. And there's the first one. For the next one, we're going to glue the 2 pieces of cardstock together first. Set those ones aside. We are going to take one of the cardstock circles and glue it to the back of the gold circle. And just to make it stronger, we're going to add 1 more cardstock circle to the back of this one. So we have 2 layers of cardstock and 1 layer of the decorative metallic paper. Then we're going to punch the hole through all of the layers. Taking the 2 circles that we already glued together, we're going to line those up and we're going to punch the hole through those circles as well. Then we're going to take our brad, poke it through the hole in the top metallic circle first. We're not going to glue these together, so we have that place to fit the twine, and then we're going to run the brad through the second set of circles. We're going to open up the prongs on the brad. We're going to take our piece of twine. I already have a knot in the end of it. We're going to feed the twine through the prongs on the brad. Then we're going to close them both to one side, trapping the string in the brad, and the knot will hold it. So what we're going to do then is we're going to put glue on the whole bottom part of this, and that will secure that in place. So this is going to go on my flap. So it is going to be here on the side. And now you should be able to run your string through the circles in both directions to hold it closed. I have a knot in the bottom of my string just so that the ends don't fray. The last thing to do is to put glue on the tabs of the envelope to close it. And there is our finished envelope. So once again, you can embellish this with different things, or if you want, you can also place a decorative piece of paper in the back as an insert so that you will see that. Because my pattern on the back is cut out such a large window, you can't really tell that it's directional, but once you turn it over, you can see the faces here, so they are in the right direction. So if you have it turned this way, this faces the wrong direction. So it can go in that direction, but it was meant to go to the side like this. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment box below. Thanks.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel.